Mikee P, Mike Probosi in the Money Media Players podcast. We planned a Churchill show for today. Twinspires.com was happy enough to sponsor some content for this weekend. And we thought with everything going on yesterday and this card they had for Churchill on Sunday, especially with the Matt win scheduled with plenty of the Derby horses lining up. Well, we thought they were. We would do some coverage of Churchill for Sunday presented by Twinspires. Well, we got blessed with a $240,000 pick five carryover. And I'm going to bring in two guys that had a hell of a day yesterday, both on the handicapping side and on the contest side, Jackson Muniz and Chris Cupples. Chris, you told me you were tearing it up in a lot of those horse tourneys contests yesterday. You certainly gave plenty of winners out on the Inner Circle show.
Yeah, I play several, just a little 5-person pick and pray, winner take all. They can kind of keep if you have a bad betting day, but your opinion's correct there, you get enough of them, you can get a pretty good score.
And I know that you're big into playing the Twinspires.com contest. You see that Twinspires hat. I'm sure that they sent that to you after many a contest you've been in. Plenty of contests today at Twinspires. We have a $200 Churchill Downs feeder that goes to that Stephen Foster Betting Challenge qualifier. Is that something you're going to be jumping into?
Yeah, I'm going to play today. I don't have any super strong all-in opinions at Churchill, but I think I have enough to work with.
Jackson Muniz, no stranger to the Twinspires.com contest. He's frequently on the leaderboards there. And Jackson, you had a pretty nice day yesterday, too, with a lot of your selections. We got this carryover today to shoot for. What do you think?
Yeah, it was fun yesterday with all the time between the races at Belmont. And it was starting trends towards the carryover. Oh, I'll put on Churchill and cheer for all these bombers last couple of races. And it ended up working out. The horse in the last race won, triggered a carryover. It's a good sequence. I thought a lot of these races were pretty open, trying to beat some of these favorites in here. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to getting into it.
So late pick 5 for Churchill starts in race 5 today. And that's 2:45 Eastern time. Their first post is 12:45. You'll get plenty of coverage for them, and they do a great job on the pre-show, giving out lots of winners there. Those guys, especially Tony Calo, very hot recently. I've noticed his selections have been very good. We're going to give you our thoughts here for this pick 5, starting in race number 5. We start with a 3-year-old stake here. They're going 7 furlongs. Jackson, I'm going to go to you. Now, we lost the 3, who would have been one of the bet horses. Impulse Buy has been scratched in this race. So we're down to 6. Is this a race you're going to try to shrink down? What do you think? I do think that there are a couple that I would be interested in. Need your thoughts.
Yeah, the scratch of Impulse Buy is kind of annoying. I was going to try to beat that one. I didn't think she had really any excuse last time, and neither did Eclatant on the rail. I mean, they both got pretty good trips in the 8 bells. No real excuses. Neither of them just ran very well. I mean, Look Forward was right up there on the pace too, and she ran so much better than those 2 speed horses. So I was looking elsewhere. I'm going to try my old friend Bourbon Memory from Turfway. She was the only one I thought that was, up on the pace in that 8 bells that had not an ideal trip. She's kind of in a tough spot the whole time. Wasn't quite as quick as the top 2, but it was just a fraction too slow. Then got shuffled out of there. Kept on trying to the end, and just, at the last furlong, she kind of called it a day. But I think with the better trip this time, she's got a much, much better post. She's going to be able to create her own trip from the outside. She'll just stock the speed and be able to get the pounce at the top of the lane. I think she's a much better price. She still has to prove she can translate her synthetic form to the dirt, but I think she's going to get a really good trip from the outside. And the other one I'm interested in, want to see how she gets bet. And I'm curious if Chris has seen any of her workouts, but Kilwin, first time dirt as well from the turf. I think she's kind of interesting as the fresh face. You have all these horses coming out of the same race. She's got some really good form on the turf, admittedly, but if she is able to translate to the dirt, I think she's very interesting in this spot.
Jackson, real quick on Bourbon Memory. I mean, 4 straight wins on the synthetic, got to that turf. Now, that was a tough race, but really didn't show much in there. You think she can bounce back, obviously.
Yeah, I just think she was in a bad spot. I mean, just watching the replay, she tried to go to lead with them and just, again, was a hair too slow to get up there and kind of got shuffled out and didn't run as well. Now she's parked on the outside. She's going to get a good trip out there. And she took a lot of money in that spot. I mean, that was a legit field. She was only 8-1 in there. I think she's willing. I'm willing to give her another shot in today's race.
Chris, do you agree with Jackson? I like a couple different ones. What do you think here?
Well, I do too, but one Jackson mentioned Kilwin. I did watch one work, and she looked okay on the dirt, nothing much. But I think she's a key to the race. Does Morales send this filly, just hell bent going to the front no matter what, or does he take back and try to rate her? Because if he takes back, I think Equiton is just absolutely loose on the rail, and I know me and Jackson see the 8 bells for her a little different. I thought she was ridden hard in a fast paced race, wide, and she just threw in the towel there. I think she's the horse to beat in here. The other one I'm going to use is the 6. I'm kind of taking the best speed and what I think is the best closer. Evanescence is going to get a smaller field here, can set a little closer, get a run started early. If some reason the 1 falters, I think she can pick her up. I'm just using those 2 just because I think the sequence, if you get too spready in places, you're going to dig yourself a hole you can't get out of.
My problem with Kilwin is now she gets the dirt, but her best races are when she can drop way off and make that 1 run. And I'm not sure that that's going to be an effective strategy. Now, maybe she can transfer that move to the dirt and succeed. But if you look at her best races, she, sits back and makes that real big run. And she was probably a little closer than she wanted to be back on April the 11th at Keeneland. That was a quick race, which she's so spicy. I liked her in there. I bet her in there. And it just seemed like getting around the turn, she just didn't have that same kick. Whereas last time she dropped out and was able to make a run to be second. So not one that I don't think I would use. You guys didn't mention Vodka with a Twist. I know that she was a pretty early 2-year-old and was dominating those races early. I do think, though, that she could be speedy in here. She's 2 for 2 over the racetrack. She gets back to going short, which I think that she certainly wants to do. You get Pratt here also, who's familiar with her, was able to win that debutante last year over this track with her. So if she pops out and is able to control the race, especially with Pratt in a race where you have a lot of horses that want to drop back and make 1 run, I think she's extremely dangerous. I don't know what to do with Eclaton in the race. We had her back on February 1st, but she dropped back in that race and was able to make that 1 run. And I wasn't sure about that 8 bell. She took a ton of money in there and really just didn't fire. Ended up 9th. I don't know. I mean, could she bounce back? Yeah, she has a win over the track. Also, I do agree on the 6, though. I think that this one, I mean, her numbers, especially in her last 2, are quite sharp. But she wants to come from off of it again in a race that doesn't have a ton of pace in it. So I would be 5-6. I understand the 1. I don't know. I'm not crazy about the 4 or 7, but I understand the cases. Really wide open race. And I think the board could tell some stories also in leg 1 of the pick 5. So read into that as you will. Any final thoughts there, Chris? I know you want to jump back in.
I think the seeing what the board in a way is a big factor for me, and that's why I don't like Vodka with Twist. I think she can win and beat me, and if she does, I'll move on. But I'm not a morning line guy, and I'm never going to critique it. I think it's a difficult job, but I think there's a good chance the 5 will go off favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
And from a value standpoint, I don't want her on the ticket, and I take the chance that Evanescence could be too far back, then Eclatant stops. And Vodka with Twist just kind of picks them up and grinds home. And if that happens, I'm okay with that.
Jackson, anything? You good? He's good. He's on mute, but he's good. Race 6 to the grass. 5.5 here. And a couple scratches in here. The 1 is out. The 5 is out. The 14 and 15 are out. The 13 does draw in. Chris, I thought this horse had a live look if she drew in the race. Comes out of a solid race last time at Gulfstream, April 19th. Do-Gooder came back to win out of that race. What do you rate her chances for Safi? Do you like she drew in?
I do, but the only thing I don't like, I don't know what Safi was doing with her. She shipped to Saratoga from Florida, been up there for a couple weeks, didn't enter anything. Now we're going to come back to Churchill. I really expected her to be a scratch, but she didn't scratch and does make my A line. She's pretty quick. And another horse that makes my A line that's a Gulfstream horse is Grade A, which has been at Churchill recently and tried the dirt. I don't know why they tried that. I like this horse's works prior to debut and had bet this horse a few times. This horse has some natural speed. If it gets out there and gets loose, could be dangerous in what is a very difficult race. My other A, I want Sweet Coffee on there, of course. It's Ward. We got Dettori outside. Horses that were really borderline beats that I'm going to use as an A just for ticket structure purposes is going to be the 11 Pratt Lens there. I thought this horse was slow. Maybe it improved. The horse I would suggest not leaving off your tickets that's not going to take any money is the 4 Hey Olivia. They tried to get her on the turf back in the fall, didn't make it. We're shipping down here again. 8 starts, all on the dirt. Helen Pitts didn't come down here because she didn't have anything to do today. She's a hell of a horsewoman. If she sent this horse down here, this horse can run.
So Chris spreading out there for this turf race in second leg of the pick 4 Jackson, or pick 5 Jackson. What's your thoughts here? There's a few others I think that are worth talking about. You agree with Chris, or where are you at?
I agree that's a tough race, and don't have too strong of an opinion here. I'm gonna make the 6 my top pick. Dala, I believe is the name, for Owen Hardy. I just really like that race. The debut race at Turfway was quite good. I mean, the race that kind of came apart a little bit. The second, third place finishers came from way off of it. Buyer number was good. The time form number, they had it about 14 or 15 points higher. I mean, the time form had that rated as a really, really strong race. Then came back at Keeneland and just got the complete opposite trip. Didn't come out of the gate. It took a lot of money in that race, too. It seemed like a strong field. Just didn't come out of the gate. Was wide, way out of there. Hoping she breaks better today. Can get much closer to lead because it is kind of a murky pace scenario outside of the 12 Sweet Coffee, who I'm also going to use. That was a strong effort at Gulfstream. Again, in time form number was strong for that level, especially for a December 2-year-old. I gotta assume she's improved since then. Also going to use the 13. I'm not too creative in this race. I'm going to use them all equally. I think maybe press up the 6 a little bit, but the 13 drawing in is also interesting. She'd probably be the off the pace type that I would think coming out of these 2-turn races. I think she'll be coming from off of it, and she's interesting. It's a big horse drawing into this field.
Yeah, I like 13. I was hoping that one would draw in. I was actually hoping the 14 would draw in too, but did not. No love for the 3, you guys. Interesting. Mighty Eru, Brendan Walsh off those 2 really pretty poor lines in the last 2 starts, facing She's So Spicy. Prior to that, I know that's a maiden claimer. That was a pretty nice race, though, getting to the grass. Big number, 79 buyer there. Now, some of these fairground horses haven't raced very well in other places, and I get that. But I didn't mind this horse shipping at Keeneland, and certainly took money versus those horses. Was 6-1 in that Limestone, and then they obviously ran 10th, showed back up in a stake here on May 10th, and now they're back in again. I mean, these connections, I don't think they waste races. I do think maybe this horse might need Lasix and gets it today, and you get an inside post. Was bet versus better horses without Lasix. Now that this is a field that I do think if she runs back to that March 3rd line, that she has a chance. And getting the Lasix, I think, is going to be very important. So another one that I do think you can throw on tickets. The 1 was another horse that that was a scratch. So I was one that I might have been using in there also, but he obviously not in there anymore. Pretty tough, wide open race, leg 2 of this pick 5. If you're going to get out of this race, you have that chance to get some separation and move on to leg number 3, which is a dirt race, 80,000, non-to life. Jackson, back to you. Can you shrink down here? We had lots of thoughts and lots of possibilities in legs 1 and 2.
Yeah, about the same for me. I'm really annoyed the 2 scratched. I was completely against the horse. Had a big trip note on that one. For the 1 dirt win, but he's coming out of there now. He's going to take a lot of money. Top pick will be the 4, actually, Uncle William, 15-1 with Juan Machado riding. This horse's form is kind of dirtied up. I mean, you got to ignore the turf efforts. He's just not a turf horse at all. He sucks on the turf, but he's run really well in the dirt here. He's got some really good numbers. He's just kind of been out of position his last couple starts, especially the most recent one. He was just much, much further back than he prefers. Now he finds himself in a field that, outside of the number 8, doesn't have a lot of speed. I think he'll be able to get the trip he wants. He'll be able to stay close to stay intact with this bunch. And I think at 15-1, you got to use him on your tickets because his best efforts really put him right there. So I'm going to use him quite a bit in this spot. I am going to use the 8 I mentioned, Silver Halo, coming off a really long layoff, but he's the speed it sure seems like. Louis Saez bothers the ride, working really well. Must use in my opinion. And then I'm also going to use the 11 on the far outside. Another one making his 3rd start of the form cycle, first time gelding, cutting back, great post, tactical speed, a lot of things like about that 11. So I'm going to be 4-8-11 in this race, and I feel pretty good about getting out of this one with those three.
Jackson, the horse like the 8, a double bar type that's been off for a year. I mean, obviously that's concerning, but that's something that affects your decision making there, or you just figure that they got. I realize that there's plenty of works that indicate that this horse looks ready to go, but these are horses for me on my end that I'm tending to fade. It's hard for me to look at these double bars and really be interested. I know it's price dependent, but something like that. It just happens to be this horse, this situation, or is it something that you really, could care less about?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it's definitely price dependent. 8-1, I definitely want him on my tickets. But the barn, does well with this move, and he's in for 80,000. They paid 70,000 for him. It's not like they're dropping all the way to the bottom. I mean, this is a high price point to bring him back at. So that makes me think he's at least, something to what he was before he went to the bench.
Chris, any 8 on your tickets? Where'd you go here?
Yeah, 8's definitely an A for me. I'm told that horse was pretty high thought of, prior to debut when it run behind just a touch and they brought it back, broke its maiden. Something went awry there in May. That horse pulled up basically. They tried to bring him back in September. Didn't quite work out. It was a vet scratch. He's working well again. We passed the vet this morning. Do not leave that horse off your tickets. I can go outside to Honest Al that I'm not sure is as honest as his name. I played this horse a couple times off some big works. He worked with Anna and outworked Anna actually. Shipped to Keeneland, kind of didn't have no excuse there last time. Just kind of ran around the track one pace. But I've heard enough about this horse that I don't want to leave him off. Also worked with Gould's Gold, who broke the track record the other day, and he works good, but he doesn't put a lot of effort out in the afternoons, apparently. The only horse that Jackson didn't mention, I think the 3, possibly inside, tactical, could be the horse to beat here. So the 3 is definitely a use. The 4 did catch my attention. I ended up not using that horse, which is probably a mistake. I may end up adding that horse on there. Other than that, I didn't need anybody else. I was 3-8-11 primarily.
Now, Chris, the 11 is first time gelding here, and you mentioned this horse has some quirks. Something like that maybe could right the ship with something that is a positive, obviously, for most horses. Do you think that something like that could maybe take this horse and bring it to another level?
Possibly, but I know enough people in that barn. If the gelding really woke him up, I would have heard about it.
I see. Okay. One horse you guys didn't mention that I did think have some interest in is the 9, Getting By, only because it's a David Jacobson claim. They claimed for 50 last time. This horse has some speed, so it's claimed, stepped, Jacobson. This is a move that I realized that, I mean, as far as numbers, it says first claim, he's 11%, but we know that this barn can take these horses and certainly move them up. I do think that horses like that and these kind of tickets, I do want to have on side because you don't want to get beat by Jacobson claim, especially a horse that's 10-1 morning line in a pick 5 that has this much dead money in it. So that would be an extra horse. I agree on your other ones, though. I do think, the 8, the 11, the 3 all play very well in this race. Jump to the 8th race, and this is the grade 3 Matt Win, where all the horses that were dodging the monsters on the Triple Crown Trail decided to enter in. However, the 1 Gaming is scratched. The 3 Chunk of Gold is scratched. The 4 Just a Fair Shake also scratched. So now we have 4 of them lining up in here. And I asked you prior to the show, Chris, you're going to be jumping on East Avenue here because he looks quite clear in this race.
Yeah, I think you have to. He's outside until you throw out the Derby. It's a whole different deal. A 1.25 mile, sloppy track. When they added the blinkers, this horse supposedly woke him up, and he turned into a different horse. Runs into bluegrass, gets run down by Burnham Square, who's in here, who is always lacked some early pace. But in the 4-horse field, you sometimes can set closer because there'll be a slower pace. You can get to pushing the pedal early. I think Burnham Square is going to take a lot of money from a strategic standpoint. You almost have to pick one horse in a 4-horse field I want to use 2, which is kind of against my rules, and Burnham Square won't be one of them. The other horse I'm going to go back to is Final Gambit, who was my Derby horse. I get Pratt now. The only dirt trial we've seen was in the Derby on the sloppy track. That don't really tell me anything. I do think this horse has a wicked turn of foot. If he can get a little closer in a small field, Pratt can ambush him. I have to use the 2 also.
Chris, this is one of those races when you get these horses that like to drop way out, you get a short field, they almost can't help but be closer early because there's not a bunch of horses to kind of get in the way. So he shouldn't be that far out. If it becomes a sprint, he's probably the one you want, yeah?
Yeah, I'm home. And again, the problem with the whole sequence is this race, it being 4 horses. So if you can get your opinion narrowed down to 1, you will build some equity. I unfortunately cannot. I've got to have the 2 and the 6. I mean the 2 and the 7. My bad.
Jackson, can you narrow down? I know you're a big loose end lead kind of guy. This is your kind of horse, your kind of race. I know you're a Burnham Square fan. Do you have to double your ticket, or are you gonna single way East Avenue?
I think you're supposed to single East Avenue in this spot. He's just gonna have a good lead in this race. You kind of hit the nail on the head. If he tries to slow this race down, he's gonna get beat because their 2 horses will outkick him to the wire. He's got to try to open up on this field because this is what he does. I mean, it's pretty evident at this point. He's got 3 races where he makes the front end and he's really good, and he had 3 races where he didn't make the front and he's awful. So go to the front, stretch this field out, make him come catch you, and see what we got in the lane. Horses like Final Gambit and Burnham Square, horses like usually trying to beat. I mean, they're just the most, especially Burnham Square in here. He's the most obvious, like had all this trouble in the Derby, and everyone's going to see that replay and come back and bet him. He's going to be overbet. Final Gambit got the setup of a lifetime last time and was still just 4th best in there. And to be fair, he got 4th to 3 really good horses, but he's not getting that kind of setup in the day, and he's going to be odds on maybe. I mean, he's going to take a lot of money in this spot. So I think especially the multis, where you're supposed to try to beat those horses, just single A to the 7. If he gets beat, whatever, move on to the next bet.
East Avenue, I mean, he does have a pace advantage here, but his 2 best races are by far at Keeneland. I mean, it's not close.
Yeah.
This isn't Keeneland. So now I think the mount of 16th does suit him, especially versus these horses. But it's hard for me to think that they're just going to let this horse get away. I know a lot. It was similar to yesterday. The pace scenario, I know it's a different race, a different distance. There's a lot of things in play here. But when you have a short field like this and one clear speed horse, the other jockeys know this too. They can read the form. They know what's going on here. And I don't think that they're going to allow East Avenue to get that far away in this race. And, he's proven it at Keeneland, but really hasn't done much anywhere else. He's supposed to win this race. If he doesn't win this race, I have no idea where they go from here. It could be an ideal spot for him, and I get it. But I do think of the others, I'd rather have Burnham Square. I know he had trouble in the Derby, but he looked like he was going to run a big race there. And there's not much to refute that. And a lot of people say, okay, he might have been top 3 without that trouble in the Derby. Well, we saw what the top 3 of the Derby did yesterday. They are all proving themselves legitimate horses. A lot of these other horses here have question marks. Final Gambit, certainly question marks on the dirt. And he got the ultimate setup to get 4th in the Derby. I don't think he would have been 4th. I don't think he would have beat Burnham Square without that trouble. So if you switch to trips, I do think that Burnham Square beats him in that race. East Avenue was 42-1 in the Derby. He looked like he was a speed type in the Derby and was going to get loose in there too. So there was not a lot of faith there. I don't know. I think this is Burnham Square's race. And I think that if he does take a step forward, and I think he very well could, in a 4-horse race, I really don't think Brian's going to get him in trouble in here. He would be the one I would want to slim down with. He would be the one that I would want to key in here because I do think that there's enough narratives on the other horses that they're going to take money, especially in a sequence where you have this big pick 5 and people aren't going to want to get knocked out in this race. And they're going to say, here's these Derby horses and, you have to use this horse. The horse that would really be the separator would be Cold Battle. If you like that horse, we didn't even mention him in this entire discussion. he would blow up this pick 5 more than probably a 20-1 shot. I mean, that's just the kind of how the race is going to play. Any final thoughts here? Because this is sort of the race of the day here at Churchill. I know we lost some scratches, but anything else we got here before we go to the last?
Yeah, I just want to add to your point that, the jockeys do read the form. They are going to be closer. They're going to try to be closer to East Avenue. All the more reason for him to go as fast as he can. Make those closers go 5, 6, 7 legs faster than they're used to, and try to take the starts out of their late kicks.
Yeah, it's a jockey's race. So their decisions early on and mid stretch are going to decide who wins.
Yeah, interesting. Saez shows up too on East Avenue. He might be the right guy there. Yeah.
Why did Pratt not stay at Saratoga to ride today? Assuming he didn't, not until I haven't seen proof that he's coming to Churchill, but he was named on all these horses at Churchill, not at Saratoga. And then we had the stakes thing that got moved to Saratoga. So there's a chance he stays up there, but he come down here to ride somebody today. And I don't think it was that horse in the turf sprint. So I know when Final Gambit learned to change leads, this horse turned into a different animal.
Very interesting version of the Matt Win leg 4 of the carryover pick 5 for Sunday. Let's go to the last. Malin 3/8 on the turf. It's a 2X. Jackson, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, going to use 3. Going to definitely press up one of them, though. The 12 Oscar season, he ran huge last time. Go back and look at the chart of that race. Complete merry-go-round. He is the only horse that made up any kind of ground from the back half of the field. He ran huge in that spot. He'll probably be much more forwardly placed going the 1.5 miles. He seems like a horse that'll appreciate more distance. Got Frankie Dettori. It's Brennan Walsh. He wouldn't be in if he didn't think he can get the distance. So I think he's the most likely winner. He's got the best numbers coming out of a much better than looked effort. Going to press him up quite a bit in this spot. Also going to use a couple prices, though. I'm going to go to the 8 Muta Aweed for Mike Maker. Just had no chance last time. That was a crawling pace at Keeneland, and he did close. He closed in that pace. Ran okay in there. Hoping he gets more of a sit up in here. He'd be the closer I'd want because he does love this distance, and he may or may not get a step in here. But if they does fall apart, he's the one I want. And also going to use the 11 Lipsay Bliss, just another one I think will appreciate more ground. Kind of has that even running style. His best 2 races came going 1.8 miles on turf. I think he's another one that's going to appreciate more ground as well, and he'll be much more forwardly placed going the 12 furlongs in here. So going to press up the 12. Going to use the 8 and 11 as backup set prices.
Chris, wide open to finish, a distance that a lot of these have done, and there are some horses that haven't faced it. How are we going to get paid for you?
Well, I agree with Jackson on the Oscar season. That arguably has faced the best horses so far of anybody in this group. The key for me is Frankie. I just don't trust Frankie no more. So that was a negative for me. The other ones I want to use that I thought were the horses to beat, the 5 American Hope. You go back to December when this horse changed barns to Brad, closed into a slow pace. Never really asked this horse to just hand rode him to the front just with ease. There wasn't anything in there to beat, but he won very easily. Comes back. He was way too far back in the February 22nd effort. Once again, came on asking, just kind of ran out of the racetrack, and he was kind of getting herded out toward the outer rail in the process. Went right by the gallop out. Here at Churchill last time, wasn't really overly ridden, and nobody came back in that race coming out of the same Oscar seasons race. That's my top pick here, and I'm going to use British Isles. I don't know if Pratt just, Vault has got him to come down here maybe to ride this horse. I doubt it. This is a 1/2 to 8 rings. Was a big horse in Baffert's barn early on, and then they figured out this horse didn't like the dirt. Come ships east. The April 9th race was a complete toss. And Pratt never asked this horse to run a step, and then come back and almost got 4-1 in that allowance race. That was a ridiculous price. Those two to me are the horses to beat. The only other one, Jackson mentioned the 8. I'm using the 8 as well. So it's 5, 6, 8, 12.
Yeah, you mentioned, there's a couple things I want to touch on here, but you mentioned that British Isles, that April 5th race. If people are interested, go back and watch that replay. He really had absolutely no room whatsoever. It was a stone cold choke job, and they were back in at Keeneland, and this horse was a pretty easy winner there going 1.5 miles. So I do think that one as a definite use in this race. Chris, I want to just bring up American Hope because you did mention this one, but it has been kind of progressively getting longer in distances here. Now he's got to go a couple more furlongs. With his style, he tends to drop way out of it. Do you think that extra distance will keep him closer here maybe? Or is this a horse that you think will be better as the distances go longer? I know you like him in the race, but horses like this that drop way out and then you get a lot more distance, it's not always the best thing.
Well, the problem is I haven't seen him run yet. In the 3 races I watched since he changed barns, he just kind of glides up to the lead. In the last one here at Churchill, I think he realized he was too far back and floated and just override him in the lane. Now he has up. Louis gets him in the race a little earlier. Distance, I don't think will be the problem.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. There's a couple other horses I thought were interesting. The 7 Freedoms Way, I think, is interesting in this race. Lost to Tucson. And Tucson really never looked a loser in that race, but this horse raced pretty well up close to the lead, going 1.5 miles on the stretch out there. This horse I do think is going to be forward here in a race that there are horses that are going to be coming from pretty far off of it. And sometimes at Churchill, these kind of horses can get away. Now he's 0 for 4 at the racetrack, and that is a concern, but I do think that he's an interesting horse from off the pace or near the pace around at 12-1. I like the 8. I thought that one was a horse that you could consider. Chris mentioned the 6. I think that one is obvious. Really wide open race to finish. Guys, final thoughts on this pick 5. You're going to have to go deep in a few spots. If you get it right, it's going to be similar to the last carryover, I think. And Chris, I know you were all over that one. How do you think that this ends up paying? This is definitely a sequence, though, I think we all need to get involved in.
Yeah, I want to get involved, but something I see when we have carryovers now is just like a week ago. I lose track of time. I guess it was a week ago. Mikey, you have to tell me. I don't even remember no more.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
So, I'll use an example without calling anybody out. I seen a ticket where they spent like $4,400. Well, they get to the final leg, and I think it paid $5,400, and they had the all button to start and the all button at the end. And whoever it was like, well, if that horse that missed by a nose would have won the last, I'd have won $8,500. Well, I can back up to the 6th race and his horse that won by a head and almost got DQ'd. If that horse didn't win, he lost $4,500. I would be very careful about spending a bunch of money on a sequence where we have a couple short fields, heavy favorites. I know you can dig yourself in a hole overall playing these large, crazy tickets really quickly. It's a lot easier to play caveman tickets and go in the hole than it is to find 10 winners you can bet for $100 a piece and make that money back.
Absolutely. And certainly a good tip from Chris there. I mean, if you're going to get involved in this sequence, and Jackson, I know the way you structure your tickets, we're always trying to bet a little to win a lot. And you have to, leverage your opinions, the races that you think you have good opinions on, try to shrink down. And then, some of the races that you don't have necessarily a great opinion on, you're trying to, find the winner, get through the race, get through the sequence. I do think that this sequence does pay well. There's enough wide open races here. We've seen Churchill. I mean, they're getting these carryovers for a reason. Lots of prices, lots of horses that don't figure are winning.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one. I don't know if it's going to pay as much as the one Chris hit a couple weeks ago. It could. You need a couple things go your way, but with a couple shorter fields, it'll be tough. But this is one, at least for me, I'm probably going to press up a little bit, use some more shorter prices, get pretty skinny with it. But definitely going to get involved. Definitely going to play some of those tournaments today at Churchill, and going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Jump to twinspires.com just as a little more of a plug for the tournaments, and you can go to their page, go to twinspires.com and click on that tournament tab. It's right up on the top, and you'll see some of the tournaments that are available this week. Again, that $200 Churchill Downs feeder to that Stephen Foster betting challenge qualifier. There's cash tournaments. You have other tracks too, Mountaineer, Parks, Presque Isle, Horseshoe Indy later in the week. There's plenty of other Churchill contests towards the end of the week and next weekend. We got some Royal Ascot stuff on the schedule coming up whenever that comes around here. It's not too far away, just less than 2 weeks away to Royal Ascot. So jump into twinspires.com tournaments and check those out. I know that these guys are very, very, very active in these contests. So you got to try to beat them. Good luck with that. This has been a production of In the Money Media. We thank twinspires.com for giving us their sponsorship and their continued support. We appreciate everybody checking us out for this carryover pick 5. Everybody jump in, get in on some of that dead money at Churchill. Thanks, Jackson. Thanks, Chris. We'll see you all next time.
Good luck.